This video clip gives you an overview of your learning track for the modules Methodological Practice or Pedagogical Practice. This picture shows the steps you take within these modules. I will tell you per step what happens there and with whom. Now, two things stand out immediately when looking at this picture. You see different colors representing the different people who support you in these steps, and you see arrows. They represent your learning process. The blue color indicates the steps you take together with your peers, your subject teacher, and your internship mentor and internship supervisor, with additional support from your learning team coach. The green color shows the steps you take together with your learning team coach, and the yellow color indicates the steps for rounding off a module. This involves your learning team coach and an examiner. Aside from the various colors, you can also see arrows. They indicate the cyclical nature of the module. You go through certain steps of the process several times, each time enhancing your skills and looking at what you could do differently or better. Let's take a look at how this works. The starting point of your learning track is also the middle of the image, familiarizing yourself with the learning outcomes. In the first week of class, your learning team coach and your subject teacher help you understand the learning outcomes of the module you're taking. This is important because it gives you an idea of what exactly you will be working on for the coming periods, because the learning outcomes are the criteria you will need to meet. These criteria have been split up, fitting the level of your program that you're at. In this way, Year 1 works on Level 1 and graduation level is Level 3 of the learning outcomes. Once you have a better idea of the specific level of the learning outcomes connected to the module you're taking, you can start working on those learning outcomes. And you can do this by conducting activities and collecting feedback. Examples of such activities are making a lesson plan at the HU, or having a conversation with a pupil at your internship school, or teaching a part of a lesson. When these activities take place at your internship, you can ask your internship mentor or internship supervisor for feedback. For activities conducted at the HU, your subject teacher or your peers can provide feedback. Your activity plus the feedback received together make a data point. And during the module, you are going to collect various data points to show your knowledge and skills. Once you've collected feedback, it is time to look at what that feedback actually says. Do you understand what is being said? Do you have any questions? Are any things unclear? And do you recognize yourself in the feedback you've received? What could you do differently or perhaps better? And how are you doing if you look at the required level of the learning outcomes of the module? Now, based on what the feedback shows you, you can then plan fitting follow-up activities. For example, if the feedback tells you that your planning was very tight and everything took longer than you had anticipated in your lesson plan, you know that next time you need to schedule more time for your activities in your lesson plan. Or if the feedback shows that you didn't make enough of a connection with your pupils, you can think of ways in which you could do so next time. And you then proceed by conducting activities again and asking for another round of feedback. So you can go through this cycle as often as necessary during the module, each time coming closer to achieving the level of the learning outcomes of the module. During this process, it is also important to stop and look at the bigger picture from time to time. This is represented by the green boxes in the image, because you do this together with your learning team coach. Together, you look at a collection of data points to see whether there are certain issues that reappear time and again in the feedback, to see whether you're showing growth, and to talk about whether you've managed to formulate fitting follow-up activities based on the feedback you've received. How are you doing when looking at the desired level of the learning outcomes at the end of the module? Now, these moments can happen more often during the learning team sessions, but halfway through the module, there is a formalized moment for this, the medium stake moment. During the medium stake moment, you present to your coach and your peers what you have collected so far and together you discuss how to best shape the second half of the module so that you reach the desired level at the end. Usually, there's still plenty to learn and develop in the second half of the module. You'll then re-enter the blue cycle. But if it so happens, and this is usually at the end of the module, that you have collected sufficient data points to present a clear picture of your knowledge and skills, then you can take the yellow steps. You show your collection of data points to your coach, who checks whether all the mandatory elements are present. Mind you, this is not a check on quality. The examiner does that, but only on requirements. However, if you have consistently collected feedback and have discussed that feedback with various relevant parties and have taken appropriate follow-up actions, the result of the final assessment shouldn't really come as a surprise to you. Is your portfolio not complete yet? Then you will get a no-go, and you can add the missing elements. Is your portfolio complete? Then you'll get a go, and you're ready to hand in your portfolio with an examiner. This is called the high-stake moment. It is the moment when you hear whether you have achieved the learning outcomes below level, at level, or above level. Is your portfolio at or above level? Then you can move on to the next module, and you have passed this one. If your portfolio turns out to still be below the required level, then your learning team coach will help you analyze and evaluate the feedback the examiner has given you in order to come up with a follow-up plan to be able to prove the learning outcomes at the required level after all, and to pass the module.